External wall insulation is usually a better choice than internal wall insulation, and it is a default solution in Eastern and Central Europe, including Germany and Poland, and it should work very well in Northern Ireland as well. Now, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have weak points and disadvantages, and let's look right now on the most basic disadvantage of external wall insulation. Let's look on the drawing. Looking on a solid wall construction on top of the roof, let's assume a quite steep pitch as for Northern Ireland, but let's go ahead with this. There is somewhere things are happening here. Okay, there is somewhere a wall plate, but it doesn't matter at the moment for this exercise. Now some guttering there, and I already show here there's already problem here that there is not much space between so if you put external wall insulation, there is not much space right now for under the existing eaves. Well, some buildings have a bit more onerous overhang. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's assume it's actually deeper. We have much more of insulation here now. So this wall here is well insulated here. There is less energy is leaking out. Now somewhere here, depending where is the wall plate, you have ceiling, and something that is really easy to do, I suppose, is to put loft insulation somewhere there, kind of in baths. Yes, so obviously this insulation needs to go all the way to the eaves, because okay, so let me just put wall plate somewhere. Let's say this is wall plate there, and the ceiling joists are somehow overlapping. Well, typically, well, no, let me just kind of correct myself. Wall plate somewhere there, and the ceiling joists are kind of sitting on top of it. All right, there's the plasterboard of the ceiling, and something that is important with the loft insulation, there needs to be ventilation all the way going through. This space needs to be ventilated, and it needs to be somehow, it is somehow ventilated before you put insulation. It needs to be somehow ventilated. It's not always happening, but that's what needs to be there. So this one needs to be as well tightly, this insulation needs to be tightly overlapping here as much as possible. So sorry, there's the wall plate. All right, so here we have the insulation. Let me just get some kind of color so it will be more obvious what's happening here. You have insulation here sitting, soft, easy to put, cheap to do, and you want to have this one. You want to have external insulation to keep the walls warm. So there's cold outside and there's warm inside in winter. Now the problem is like this, that there is no insulation here. You know, partly you need it for ventilation to happen here, and partly you have, you know, wall and so on. So it's a big challenge to get thermal insulation here continuous. It needs to be continuous. You know, if it's not continuous, if one contractor does this thing, and obviously they are not thinking about it, and another contractor comes with the external wall insulation, say all the clearances here with guttering and with tiles, all this say that this is okay, that insulation gets under the existing eaves. You still have this bit here, and if you will not solve this, this bit, then this is thermal bridge, this is thermal bridge, you know, that's where energy is leaking, you know. This warm wall is just cooling in this direction. So typically what's happening here is that on plaster here water condenses, you know, and mold doesn't need much condensation to get in. It can get in, establish itself, and then it's just enough if it has some, if the room has, you know, some kind of high relative humidity, because, you know, what you have at the wall is pretty much like 10% higher than what you have in general in the room. So then you have problem, you have real problem. So this thing needs to be properly designed, and for each house it's a different solution. So right now I'm just pointing out that there is something to watch out because of the thermal bridge. Yes. Obviously, with internal wall insulation, if you have insulation on this side, then insulation is continuous. In this case, because it's on the outside of the wall, you need to somehow bridge it. Mostly, it is high performance insulation solution. I mean, you know, it needs to be very well performing insulation, thermal insulation, that bridges these two pieces.